You have probably heard the term API 1,000 times. Maybe in a meeting, on a developer forum, or while watching a tech review. API is one of those words that gets thrown around like everyone already knows what it is, but the truth is, it is one of the most misunderstood concepts in technology. And that is a shame, because once you really get what an API is and how it works, the entire digital world starts to make a lot more sense. My name is, your name, and this is DevBrief. Today we are going to demystify the API. By the end of this video you will not only understand what an API is, you will be able to spot them everywhere, and you will know why they are absolutely essential to modern software. Let us start with the obvious. API stands for Application Programming Interface. That is a mouthful, but the core idea is simple. An API is a messenger. It takes a request from one piece of software, tells another piece of software what to do, and then brings the response back. Think of a restaurant. You are the customer. You want food, but you cannot just walk into the kitchen and start cooking. You need a waiter. You tell the waiter what you want from the menu, the waiter goes to the kitchen, tells the chef, and then brings your food back to you. In this metaphor, you are the client app, the kitchen is the server or the database, and the waiter is the API. The menu is the documentation. You can only order what is on the menu. And you cannot ask the chef to do something weird like stir the soup with your shoe, because the waiter only knows how to take standard orders. The API enforces the rules of communication. Now, why does this matter? Because almost every digital service you use relies on APIs. When you check the weather on your phone, your app sends an API request to a weather service. When you book a flight through a travel site, that site uses APIs to check prices from multiple airlines. When you log into a website using your Google account, that is an API in action. APIs are the invisible glue holding the internet together. So how does an API actually work under the hood? Let us get a little technical, but I promise to keep it visual. Most modern APIs are web APIs, and they work over HTTP, which is the same protocol that powers websites. When a client wants to access a resource, like a list of users or a photo from Instagram, it sends an HTTP request to a specific URL, known as an endpoint. That request includes a method. The most common methods are GET, which retrieves data, POST, which creates new data, PUT or patch, which updates data, and DELETE, which removes data. Together these are called CRUD operations: create, read, update, delete. The request also includes headers, which are like metadata, telling the server things like what type of data the client can accept, and sometimes an authentication token to prove who you are. The server processes that request, often looking up information in a database, and then sends back a response. That response includes a status code. You have probably seen 404, which means not found. A 200 means everything is okay. A 201 means a new resource was created. A 500 means the server had an error. And most importantly, the response includes the actual data, usually formatted as JSON, which is a lightweight text format that both humans and machines can read. So when your app asks for the weather, the server sends back something like this: curly brace temp :72, condition :sunny. The app then renders the data into a nice interface with a sun icon and a temperature number. That is it. That is the core cycle. Request, process, response. But APIs are not just about fetching data. They are about creating ecosystems. Consider Stripe, the online payment processor. Stripe does not make you build a payment system from scratch. Instead, they provide an API. You send a request with the customer name, the amount, and the card details, and Stripe handles the rest. They run the security checks, they talk to the banks, and then they send back a response saying whether the payment went through. This is huge. It means a small startup can accept credit cards without becoming a bank. It means a blogger can add a payment button to their site with just a few lines of code. APIs are the reason software development moved from building everything yourself to assembling pieces from different services. That is what we call a composable architecture. But with great power comes great responsibility, and APIs also have their downsides. Let us talk about pros and cons. On the plus side, APIs let you reuse functionality. You do not need to reinvent the wheel. They also enable specialization. A company like Twilio focuses entirely on sending text messages and making phone calls through their API. They do that one thing extremely well. APIs also make your application more secure because you do not expose your entire database. You only expose a controlled interface. And APIs allow for scalability. You can have millions of devices talking to the same API without breaking a sweat. On the downside, APIs introduce dependencies. If the API goes down, your app stops working. If the API changes its format, you have to update your code. There is also latency. Every API call takes a fraction of a second, and if you chain 20 calls together, your app feels sluggish. And security is a double-edged sword. A poorly designed API can be a huge vulnerability, leaking sensitive data or allowing unauthorized access. That brings us to common pitfalls. The number one mistake developers make with APIs is not reading the documentation carefully. APIs have rate limits, meaning you cannot call them 1,000 times per second. If you do, you get blocked. Another mistake is not handling errors gracefully. Your app should expect that sometimes the API will return a 500 error, and it should show a friendly message to the user, not crash. Another big one is overfetching. Some APIs let you specify exactly what fields you need. If you do not ask for only what you need, you might download a massive JSON object full of data you will never use, which slows down your app and wastes bandwidth. And probably the biggest mistake of all is hard-coding API keys. Never put your secret API key directly in your code. Use environment variables or a secrets manager. Otherwise, if you push your code to a public GitHub repo, anyone can hijack your API access and run up a huge bill. So to wrap this up, what is an API? It is a contract. A set of rules that allows different software systems to talk to each other. It is the waiter, the bridge, the gateway. Every time you use a modern app, you are benefiting from APIs. They are the reason you can log in with Facebook, pay with PayPal, or get directions from Google Maps inside your ride-sharing app. They are invisible but indispensable. And whether you are a beginner just starting to code or a seasoned developer building complex systems, understanding APIs is like understanding how the engine works in a car. You do not have to be a mechanic to drive, but knowing what is under the hood makes you a better driver. If you found this explanation helpful, hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. And if you want to understand more core tech concepts in plain English, subscribe to DevBrief. We drop a new video every week, breaking down the tech that powers our world. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.